Hello.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good. Let me adjust my volume here.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you perfectly fine.
Good. Do you go by Tina?
I do.
Okay. Uh, well, hello, Tina. Um, you're an AP at Durham Public Schools
I
and
am.
working on your doctorate at HPU.
Yes.
And where are you in that process, Tina?
So I'm in year 3 and we are cohort 7. It's like 17 of us. And we're just in the semester of actually starting to write our proposals.
Okay.
So we are doing our internship this semester and writing our proposal. We have 2 classes left. And then of course we have our comps this summer. And then of course, hopefully in the fall, if everything goes well with the proposal by June 1st, then we will be on our way to finishing on up.
Okay. So you're hoping to have a proposal this summer and then do some research in the fall?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what do you know
Yes.
about mentoring, or what is your interest? Why mentoring?
So really interested into coaching and with new principals. I was an instructional coach before I became an administrator in Wake County.
Mhm.
And I just from moving from Wake to Durham and just kind of listening to some of my new principal friends and just observing, even working with a new principal, how challenging it was for them. And actually, the new principal that I did work for, he's no longer even a principal. He went back to being, a counselor. And, one of his main concerns was just like, it's not support, for the new people. You interview, get the keys, and you're in the door.
Right.
And I know I'm a big, when I was a coach, I love what I did. Absolutely love being a coach. And I tell my teachers that I'm just a big coach now and coaching them, in their craft. And I think it's so important. I have a heart for BTs and I just, kind of wanted to be, of course, on the principal level versus on the teacher level. And so just really interested in, knowing more about, what is the impact of coaching when it comes to novice principals? Where's the lack and what's their perception? It's one thing to see it, for a year, because I only work with this new principal for a year and a half. And then to see, from afar what other new principals have dealt with. So I'm just like, wow, I wonder what the research is really saying about that.
So you said that you're hoping to have a proposal this summer. Have you done some reading? Do you have your lit review?
Yes. So I'm actually in the middle of, well, I've done a lot of lit review. I have several
Okay.
stacks in my binder over here of it. And so in the process of getting Dr. Bingham a draft by this Thursday, another draft, but the
Okay.
4th draft by now, and just really getting on the right track. I think he, after talking to him, after each one of before I started the first draft, and then literally where I'm at with each of the drafts from the past since this semester has started, after talking to him on last week, I told him that the water was getting by my knees now.
Okay.
It's no longer up to my neck.
And
So.
do you have a research question, Tina?
So he wanted me to kind of allow your work to kind of guide where I was going. And so the research question that I did come up with, give me one second, let me pull up my paper. So I have 3 right now. And of course, I know one of them I threw in here, so I don't know if he's gonna per se approve it. So 3 questions that I have is, what is the perceived impact of coaching on the novice principal's leadership? And then how does novice principal coach structure and design the coaching process to support the novice principal learning? And how does coaching support their experience as a novice principal? So
So do
that's
you
kind
have
of where I'm at this moment.
okay, I get it. I get it. You want to know about coaching with novices and participants' perceptions. Is there a particular program that you're studying, or some model of coaching that you're looking at?
So at first I was gonna do a case study where I was gonna look at 4 different models across 4 different districts. But it was becoming a little bit more challenging for me to get my hands on them. So Dr. Bingham had seen a presentation from my district, and it just so happened that I shadowed one of the area superintendents, probably second semester of year 1 of the program, and she had already given me the model, the whole binder. And you may know it, Dr. Darlene Ryan.
I do not, but
Okay.
go ahead.
But yeah, so she had already given me the binder. So it just so happened that he went to a presentation, I guess it's about 2-3 weeks ago now. And he was like, Quantina, I think that model is great. Their presentation was awesome. I think let's just stick with just Durham. So we squashed looking at them across districts, and now we're looking at just Durham. And
Okay.
so it's the Wallace Foundation is pretty much the stem of where they're, I'm actually trying to find the binder, where the model comes from. So, I'm looking at that, and I haven't really dug into it yet, but I do know that it's Wallace Foundation. It's really more so where the area superintendent is technically the coach and the principal supervisor. So that's kind of where that model is. And it came with the deputy superintendent from Guilford County. And one of my cohort members actually is one of the principal supervisors in Guilford County. So I knew whenever I talked to him, like, okay, this is definitely the same model. So
Are they doing that model in Durham now? So
yeah,
if there's a new principal, they're paired up. Their assistant superintendent is their coach.
yes,
Is that correct? Okay.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is a little complicating, when you have somebody who's trying to help you, but also is supervising and evaluating you. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
I talked to Dr. Ryan last week, and a little bit, not long, and just to kind of get her support and approval for moving forward.
Right.
And then of course, once I complete my IRB and all of that, but she told me that she would, absolutely support me talking to any of her principals, whether they're new or experienced.
So you think in terms of methodology, you have a cohort of principals in Durham that you can survey or interview or talk to?
Yes, sir.
And how do you propose, what is chapter 3 methodology? How do you propose to gather data about their perceptions? A survey? Are you going to interview them? Or are you going to do focus groups, or how?
So that's something that Dr. Bingham and I was talking about. So we're looking at doing interviews and surveys, but with the possibility of doing a focus group, just depending on if it's like I was telling him, to my knowledge, I absolutely know there's new principals in elementary and middle, but I don't think it's too many new principals in high school.
Okay.
But I do know that they're new in elementary and middle.
And in terms of numbers, do you have any idea how many new principals with coaches there were? Are we talking about last year
Don't
also?
write off.
And
Say it again.
if you have permission from Durham County to interview or survey people, how far might you go back, or how many total can you get? The deal is, if you're trying to get, well, depends on your methodology. Case studies, fewer people. But if it's if you're trying to go in some different directions, more is better generally. More data, more people, more contacts is
Mhm.
better generally. So if I just lucked out in my, I forget, I had 23 or something, new
Okay.
assistant principals. Um,
Okay.
I don't know how many you're going to have, but a representative sample would be good. And yeah, if you survey them, quantitative data from a survey in groups of less than 20 or 30 is not going to be real meaningful.
Mhm.
Qualitative data in terms of the themes and the things that they're talking about, interviews, focus groups, those would be good qualitative methods in order to gather that data from people.
Okay.
Find out how long has this particular Guilford program been in place? Do you know?
I'm not sure how long Guilford has been in place.
Well, in terms of doing it in Durham County. When did
Durham.
that person come over?
So that started in 2017.
If you have 3 years or 4 years worth of data, if you can go back and talk to principals from 2017 or 18,
Okay.
that would boost your numbers and give you better data and make a survey easier.
Okay.
But if it's just like 1 year's worth of data last year, uh, because you're talking about maybe trying to collect the data in the fall, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
If it's just last year's group, then it might be smaller, and case
Yeah.
studies or something may be the way to go.
Okay.
Uh, I wanted to caution you about the survey that I created. It's not the
Okay.
greatest, and if you find
Okay.
something else that's validated, maybe if this Guilford coaching program has been in place for a while, they may have a validated survey that you can use. I
Okay.
made up my survey, and it's not the greatest, and it's not
Okay.
validated particularly. So
Okay.
borrow questions or use it as you want. Have you
Okay.
looked at my dissertation?
Yes, so I've been
Okay.
reviewing it. I only printed off, I told Dr. Bingham the first three chapters. So I haven't looked at the second, the fourth and the fifth, where all the meat of, I guess, everything was when we were talking, because he kind of shared it with me as when we were sharing screens.
Sure.
So I was just trying to get the first three because I just been trying to get past.
Well, the point I was going to make, Tina, is that check out the reference pages too, because
Okay.
that might help you with some stuff. Now, again, I wrote mine in 2004, almost 20 years ago. So some of this stuff is dated, and I don't doubt that there's lots of people who've been doing stuff since 2004 who would be good sources too. But Barnett, BG Barnett, I don't know who that is. I remember quoting Barnett. Uh, there's a guy named Daresh, Daresh, JC. Again, these references are from 2001, 1987. They're getting old, but I borrowed heavily on Daresh.
Okay.
My model of coaching really comes from the counselor model. You said you used, that teacher model, and the counselor model at NC State, where I did my work, was from Joyce and
Okay.
Showers. So that's another, like, when you talk about standing on the shoulders of giants and stuff, Joyce and Showers is from the 80s and 90s, and they were all into
Okay.
counselor coaching. Uh, and so I was a counselor and then a principal. I adopted some of the counselor stuff. You're not
Yeah.
wrong to say, what works with teachers in coaching should work with principals in coaching. But look
Okay.
for principal coaching surveys, especially something connected to that Guilford model that's been adopted by Durham. There's an awful lot of creative borrowing in education, and you don't want to plagiarize, but give everybody credit for what you're borrowing, and
Okay.
borrow heavily. Yeah. And if you can figure out somebody else's wheel that you can adapt for your research, don't reinvent a wheel, for sure.
Okay.
So in my mind, you've got a research question or questions. It's about perceptions of coaching for
Mhm.
novice people. You want to tie that to your literature, and it sounds like the Guilford model is the core model for your, you want your literature review to come up to the point of saying this is the coaching model that should be happening everywhere. And then you look to examine how it's working in Durham with a cohort. Again, the bigger the better, but with a cohort of 2 or 3 years worth of novice folks, and you gather data from them with a survey or interviews and focus groups and stuff. I
Okay.
did interviews, and then I found some, I forget which I did first. The focus group, both of those were good ways to gather data. If you
Okay.
start the focus group with some general, structured interview questions, structured questions, and then let it go wherever it's going to go, that, as I recall, was where I came up with my major themes for, you know, here's the other thing, Tina. I have my doctorate. I got my dissertation through. It's a stinky
Mm.
dissertation. It's really not very good. And my major findings were coaching and mentoring helps. Big freaking deal. It helps. Okay. More people said it helped than didn't say it helped. And there were some barriers like proximity. I had people from different sides of Wake County trying to mentor one another, and that didn't work so well. So, that was before Zoom. So
Mm.
anyway, you got to come up with something. You got to have a valid question.
Okay.
You got to have a way to try to answer that question. But it's not rocket science, and you're probably not going to come up with anything that you can publish a book and make $1 million. But if you
Right.
say this mentoring model, this coaching model that came from Guilford, and give them credit, and has been tried for X number of years in Durham, we found that 3 out of 4 novice principals appreciated it and thought it was a great thing. That's, if that is your finding, that you get it. That's where you're going. Oop. Now somebody's unstable, you or me, and I got froze up
You
there
were
for a minute.
you good? I think,
Yeah, I don't know how much.
am I good? You
I'm
see
back.
me?
I see you. You see me live?
Okay.
Okay. I don't know how
I
much of
do.
that you missed, but again, you're not gonna publish a book, and you can publish a dissertation, but you're not going to make $1 million off of finding something about coaching. I really
Right.
doubt that there's a shocking new revelation that will come out of your research about coaching
Right.
novice principals. But you add a little bit to the literature. You say, this is what I found out. This is what worked in Guilford. It's been tried now for 4 years in Durham, and that's your goal. But don't say that now. Don't write that into your proposal. that's where
No.
you think you might be going down the
Okay.
road, right?
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to try to prove it with as much data as you can, what the effect of this coaching is. If they say it was a waste of time and I wish we hadn't done it, then you report that. But if they say,
Okay.
2 out of 3 said it helped, then that was my finding.
Okay.
you know it's not earth shattering, but it's research, and it's all about learning how to think and how to write and how to get it down. And but I think you're on the right track, and I would
Perfect.
research Durham County and see how far you can go back,
Okay.
and see also if there isn't a survey, or if they've been doing the program for a while in Guilford and in Durham, have they surveyed people? Have they asked? Have they done a follow up to ask how it goes? And can you get permission to use that same survey?
Okay.
Now, you have a gatekeeper in Durham County, somebody who's going to give you access to these people and stuff.
Yes. So once I get the whole clearance, for my IRB, then Dr. Ryan is wide open for me. And she told me that she will speak to the other area superintendents once I get that IRB approval to, interview some new principals, maybe at their particular zones or whatever. So I think I'll be okay with that part.
Realistically, you need an insider. You need somebody in Durham Public Schools who will give you access to those people so that, well, for instance, when it comes time to sending a survey to 20 principals, you don't want it to go out from your, well, likely Durham Public Schools is going to want it to go out from their server to their people and come back to their HR or Ms. Ryan or whoever, and
Yeah.
then come to you. That's the way I have found people want to work. They want to do it in the system. So,
And I'm
you're maybe Miss Ryan will be
with
different.
that, like, yeah, and I think that probably would, I think it would be okay. I know that my superintendent knows that I'm working. It's a couple of us actually in Durham that's in my same cohort. So we're all in the process, and so our superintendent is well aware of us at the stage that we are. So he's supportive of that as well.
I love to keep those kind of people informed, tell them what you're doing and what you're thinking about and bounce ideas. Then it becomes a win-win, when they know that you're working on something that potentially could benefit Durham Public Schools. This is hopefully, in a perfect world, you're going to take your results and report them to the school board and say, we need to do more of this or less of this or whatever. But so keep your, it's called, in the literature, it's called superior orientation, orienting your work and your thoughts to line up with what your superiors want, right?
Okay.
So please them, and then you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else can I talk to you today about, Tina?
So I know that last night I was kind of working through the significance of the study and I got stumped. I was like, am I like a brain freeze here? Like, what's going on?
Just back it up and then think again from your perspective, end in mind. You have new principals. Every year you're going to have new principals. We want all principals to be successful. New principals have particular barriers and challenges. According to the literature, and quote your literature,
Okay.
The literature says novice principals who have coaching support do better. And therefore, we may find that the coaching program in Durham Public Schools is anonymous school district is beneficial and therefore could be a significant factor in the success of these principals. So work backwards from what you hope to find to say, coaching matters and we need to find out how it's going in Durham.
Okay. So I would definitely I remember them telling us that we can't use the names.
Right. Yeah. A large urban southwestern school district. You're going to come up with some generic name for it. Urban definitely describes Durham, right?
Right.
I mean, North Carolina divides schools into urban and rural, but a large urban southwestern school district.
Okay.
It's always good just to put it in the region. Don't even say North Carolina, Southwest.
Okay, that's what I was getting ready to literally ask you. So I wouldn't even say North Carolina altogether.
Southwestern.
Okay.
Southeastern. Where are we? Southeastern School District.
Okay. So I'm more so telling the story in the significance, future, but I'm more predicting that this is what.
Well, or again, it support for principal success is important. The literature says so. So you got to quote some literature and find someplace in the literature that says that more principals who are coached are successful than not coached.
Okay.
And again, there's your literature review. I hope that coaching is a good thing,
Yes.
and say again, if coaching is a good thing, we need to know what its effect is, and so that's why it's a significant research.
Okay.
I don't
No,
know.
no,
Write it up like that and run it by Dr. Bingham. If he likes it, then you're golden.
well, I definitely have to put it in here. So
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
that's one of the pieces of chapter 1, significance.
Okay.
It is cite some literature, find some literature that says that coaching helps novice principals,
Right.
and say that help is critical. Maybe even can find some data about how many novice principals are not successful, and see if they've been coached. I don't know.
Okay.
See what's out there in the literature.
So as far as like with the overview of the methodology,
Right.
does that set, because I put a lot of literature around that, and I'm doing using adult learning theory. And that's Dr. Bingham told me that would align better with just coaching when it comes to adults. So does that section have to be like really large? Or is it just more so just explaining the alignment of it?
You mentioned adult learning theory, and you asked about chapter 3 methodology, right? Is that what I heard?
Well, I was asking about, yes, because
Okay.
I'm going off of his outline. I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm not sure where adult learning theory fits with your methodology. Methodology to me is how we're answering your research question. And if your research question is about the effect of coaching, then I'm thinking, well, you could go either quantitatively or qualitatively. I'm Mr. Qualitative, but if you have some data from a survey, that's technically quantitative. If you have interviews and focus groups, and that's qualitative. I don't see where the adult learning theory fits in with that kind of methodology. Are you trying to measure where adult learning theory is working or not? Again, I think you may have a spot for adult learning theory in chapter 2 when you're talking about the literature and how adults learn and respond. You're
Okay.
talking pretty much about how principals get coached, right? Or can
Yeah.
coach one another, can coach
Yeah.
others. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
might fit in terms of saying you've got a model already. You got your Guilford model. Does the Guilford model incorporate adult learning theory? I bet it does. Uh, so you have an area where you can talk about the adult learning theory, but I believe it's in respect to how the coaching model was set up, created, what it's trying to do, how it's trying to help novice principals become better. Um,
Okay.
okay. And
Cool.
yeah, adult learning theory definitely fits in there somewhere. These are adults and they're learning something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you want to try to measure that somehow, I'm okay with it. But again, I think what you want to really measure is the effectiveness of your Guilford coaching model.
Okay. Okay.
Fit adult learning theory into chapter 2 somewhere.
In chapter 2. Okay.
That's my suggestion.
Got it.
Bingham and I disagree on some things. he ask why if he wants it in chapter 3, ask why it should fit over there. Where does it fit there? How does it help you answer your research question? Remember again,
Well,
chapter 1 research question, chapter 3 how I'm answering that research question.
got you. Okay.
And I think you're answering it maybe with a survey, maybe with interviews, maybe with focus group. That's what I've heard so far, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's what he and I talked about last Thursday. Yeah, interview, focus groups. That's what he mentioned survey, but then now that I look back at my notes, I have it really highlighted on, yeah, the interview and the focus groups.
Okay. I think that's your chapter 3 methodology, and I don't see a lot of adult, I don't know, but I don't think you want to measure a lot of adult learning theory in chapter 3. I think you want to measure again how effective the Guilford model is working. So you got to look at that Guilford model again and say, what does it incorporate? Where did it come from? You know, does it incorporate adult learning theory? And if so, how? You know, who designed it? Who came up with the Guilford model? And what is it based on? You may find that it's based on something that they took from Stanford, you know, something somebody else came up with. Not a whole lot, again, is brand new in terms of these coaching and mentoring models. But anyway.
Okay.
What else?
Right. So the limitations of the study is where I'm looking at is that the results? Like I'm predicting where the gaps could be after I'm done? Is that what that means?
You've got limitations and delimitations, and here's the deal. If we want to find out how effective a coaching program has been in Durham County for a couple of years, we might get hold of, you know, 10, 15, 20 principals who will share some data with you. But how valid, how accurate, how reliable will that data be in terms of giving you an accurate picture? Well, if you were able to talk with every one of those people, it would have fewer limitations. But if you can only see a sample of them, or if some of them have already moved on and retired, then you're not going to get all of them. If the people who respond to you are all African American females, then that's not going to tell you much about the white male experience. You know, those are limitations. Then,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
not being able to get everybody, not maybe not getting true and accurate response. Ooh, here's a limitation that I already heard in your description of this stuff. These same coaches, the assistant superintendent who coaches you is also your evaluator. That's a limitation. How accurate, how truthful am I going to be about something negative if my boss is asking me? You know? So to me, that's a limitation. And what you got to try to do is say, okay, here's my question. Here's how I'm going to try to answer my question. What limitations can I already predict? Well, I can already predict that the boss thing is going to be a problem. But then later, after you collect all of your data, you'll revisit limitations and delimitations and say, that wasn't such a big deal. As it happened, only 5 people out of 20 responded. That was a much smaller sample than I hoped for. You know,
Okay.
so going in, you'll have some limitations, but just think through it or bounce this idea off of somebody else, one of your other classmates, and say, you know, okay, this is what I want to try to do. What roadblocks, what limitations do you see?
Okay.
Just kind of brainstorm some things. But again, in our half-hour conversation here, that dual relationship is going to be a problem.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
limitation.
Yeah. I was thinking that to myself, like,
limitations are often things that are going to be obvious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Something else I can help you with?
I think that's it for the moment, because I have got to get through chapter 2. But once I get to chapter 3, I'm gonna have some questions. Cause I mean, he and I kind of, he was like, don't go into chapter 3 yet. Don't go there. Because I'm trying to trudge through chapters 1 and 2.
Be really clear about your research questions, exactly what, frame it exactly as best you can. You want the effect of coaching on novice principals, right? Right.
Mhm.
So keep it simple. KISS,
Okay.
the KISS rule. Keep it simple.
Yeah, because I know he told me, I was asking him like, that I've looked at, lots of dissertations, and some have several questions and some just have like 2 questions.
You
And so
may
he was
you
like,
may wind up with 2 or 3 at the end, but
yeah, and that's
again,
what he told me too. So, okay. Yeah, I think that's probably that's where I'm at right now. Like I just need to get through chapter 2, but I know I'll have questions for you come chapter 3. I already know that.
well, I am
Yeah.
available. I live in Pittsburgh. I don't know if meeting in Chapel Hill sometime would work.
Okay.
Um, uh, I don't know how much of Dr. Bingham's work I want to volunteer to do, but you get a draft or get some ideas on paper that you want me to look at, I would look at them with you.
Okay.
And buy me coffee and we can sit and talk about it sometime too, or
Okay.
Zoom. This works for me too.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay,
That'll work for me. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with me.
sure.
And I will definitely, I appreciate you offering to look over.
Tell me,
um,
what school are you at now, Tina?
I'm at Oak Grove Elementary School.
Oak Grove Elementary. And where you said you were in Wake prior to coming to
No, I
Durham?
was in Wake. I was at Wilburn Elementary School in Wake.
Wilburn. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked for Mr. Fisher, and the other 2 principal was Mark Tracy and Latasha Dove.
I was in Wake for almost 30 years, 20 some years. Anyway, I've been gone for a long time and things
Oh,
change
okay.
fast. They
Yeah.
changed fast in 10 years. So
Oh my
anyway,
goodness. Yeah. So I started my career there. Let me start. I started my admin career in Wake County.
okay.
I've been in education 21 years now.
Good for you. Good for
Yeah. So
you.
I
And
started out at in Forsyth County. So went from
well,
there.
I hope in not too much time to be calling you Dr. Sides, and
Yes, I'll be so
good luck to
excited.
you. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Dr. Bingham is a tough taskmaster, so good
Yes.
good
Yeah.
luck working with him. And if there's something I can do to help you out, just shoot me an email, shoot me a text.
Okay.
I like the way this worked.
Okay. Perfect.
So a time to Zoom would work for me too.
Okay. Perfect. I
Okay,
appreciate that. And I tell you that Dr. Bingham but he has been a cheerleader for me.
good.
All my almost 4 years there. So I've enjoyed learning from him.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, right on, Tina. A whole lot of this is just taking the time and doing the research and doing the writing, and good luck with that part.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
appreciate it. And I will definitely be in contact with you soon.
okay,
All
I'm
right.
here.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.